Beste mensen van Move Film Festival, als het goed is, hebben jullie net Canción sin Nombre gezien, oftewel Song Without a Name in het Engels. Hier bij mij heb ik Melina León, zij heeft de film gemaakt. En ik ga hier een aantal vragen aan haar stellen, zodat wij, nadat jullie de film hebben bekeken, ook meer over de film te weten komen. Hi Melina, how are you? Thanks for calling us from Peru. Where in Peru are you at the moment?
I'm in Lima.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
The first question I would like to ask you is a question you probably get a lot. Can you tell us why you filmed in a more square format and in black and white?
Sure. I think the square came from my need to bring the audience to the 80s. Mm-hmm. Our need, and we felt, obviously we have very limited resources. Our budget was low, so I wanted to use every resource I had to help towards that means, mm-hmm. towards that goal. And then I think it also comes from my admiration to films that were shot that way. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking of No by Pablo Larraín. Mm-hmm. And I believe Elephant was shot like that. I'm not sure, but I think those two films mm-hmm. Inspire me. If it wasn't shot like that, Elephant, it was similar.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So it's also like, I also found it appropriate because I thought it's a very humble format, and the people who are portraying are humble. So I thought that's the right attitude mm-hmm. to approach.
That's also why you filmed it in black and white?
Black and white, yeah. Also the admiration to certain films. Also, it's coming from the news. The story, it's inspired on true events. Mm-hmm. So, and those in those days, the newspapers were only printed in black and white. Mm-hmm. The photographs, at the very least, there were only details in color. So we thought it's appropriate. Also, it's useful for low budget period film. Mm-hmm. I heard that from master filmmaker like Michael Haneke. He was doing that for White Ribbon, and he was worried about to be accurate with the colors. So in the end, he thought it's better to do black and white. Okay. So I thought, if he's worried because you can be a little bit fake, no? Mm-hmm. Maybe I should be worried too with our constraints. So I for all those reasons, also it's beautiful. So yeah, so I thought also it gives us a quality of separation. Everything else I wanted very, very, very authentic, but I think it's appropriate to have a certain balance mm-hmm. when you make a fiction film between authenticity, reality, and also a bit of distance, a bit of abstraction. Mm.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, the film is based on true events, but which stories are like, from which story did you start to base it on? Was it more the political situation in Peru in the 80s you wanted to show, or was it exactly the story on the kidnapping?
Oh, well, it's just inspired. It's inspired on a true story, but then it became a fiction. It's a fiction film. We even changed the year when this happened. These cases happened in the beginning of the 80s, 81, 82. Okay. But we moved it at the end because I wanted to base it on our memory of the time, our emotional memory. And I could only remember the end of the 80s, not the beginning. I was too little. So so we moved it, and also because I wanted to show the crisis and the 80s. The worst part was at the end. Then it's a perpetual crisis in Peru, but those years were particularly hard. So I think I wanted to start by telling the story of Georgina as the person that embodies the say like that embodies like the suffering of Peru, the main victim of everyone's hate, and at the most, at best, the indifference. No? As a woman, as an indigenous, as a poor person. No? So we begin by giving her the center of attention, no, with this horrible, outrageous crime where her baby gets stolen. But then we expand the stories, no? We expand the drama to show that it's not only her, it's other women like her, that it's not just one case, it's the violence, it's everywhere, no? Even against the journalist, no? Who is gay, hides it, no? And then we wanted to show the response to this violence that is part of our lives now. They call it structural. It's part of our structure. It works like that. So the horrible response, the violent response, but that's coming from somewhere. No? It's understandable, and that comes with Leo. No? Leo joining a violent group. No? We don't say the name of it, but it's for Peruvian. It's evident that it's a shining path that he joins.
Exactly. Again, about the children's abductions, did this happen a lot in the 80s, and was it mostly amongst the indigenous communities, and was it only in Peru, or was it something that happened in Latin America in that timing?
I'm not sure if if it happened everywhere else. I'm sure. It did happen in Chile, and the dictatorship of Pinochet stole a lot of children, and in Argentina as well. Their particular dictator, also stole many children. In our case, it was more just small mafias in combination with judges, people in the government. But to my knowledge, not a dictator.
How did you find this story?
Through my father, because he was a journalist, and he wrote. Yeah. He wrote about this in the newspaper La República. No?
Yeah.
But it's important to say that it's not something that happened in the 80s in Latin America. This is something happening everywhere in the world now. So the film goes back to those times because it's important for Peru. In those times, something very deep got broken in Peru that even to this day we are still dragging. This sort of civil war or internal war, as they call it, is still some sort of, how to say, barrier against any social program, because the left became associated with terrorism
groups.
Yes, with radicalism, with terrorism. So even to this day, a lot of people is afraid of the left. So it's taking, and of course, powerful people take advantage of his fear so that they can continue to kidnap our resources and every possibility of social improvement, no? And that would require many changes, no, in the economy. But
And how is the situation today of the groups fighting the government? Is it still going on? And what's the difference between now and the 80s?
yeah, it's going, but it's very small groups now. It's they try to become legal. The Shining Path try to become legal, but I'm not sure if they are being accepted because, yeah, many reasons. But they were very cruel group. So for us to accept them in the Congress, I mean, it would require a lot of work. Um, but yeah, they are very little. What's the difference? Well, now in the 90s, after all this, it became a neoliberal country. So now we have Starbucks and stuff. You know? We have all these things, and 500,000 people in Peru, in Lima, are quite wealthy. No, I mean, not wealthy, but it looks modern. It looks like much better. And I'll say some things have, of course, improved. Like we're making more movies. Like there's more room for musicians because there's more money and things like that. No? But then the pandemic showed us that our health system is broken, completely broken. People are dying waiting for a bed, ICU bed, no intensive care that we don't have enough. We only had 100 of these for a 33 million people country, 100 a year ago. Of course, the government rushed to make more, no?
Yeah.
But in the meantime, people died and continue to die. You know? So it's pretty much on the surface that the country has changed.
On combining events that really happened, I assume now you told that your father was a journalist investigating this. How hard was it to fictionalize things that have actually happened? Can you tell something on that?
Oh yeah, yeah. It was hard. It was hard. That's why it took a long time to write the script. I think in a way I wanted to make it to have a style because when we were writing the script, it was very painful, painful to go back to that place, that moment, to imagine, no, to imagine everything. On the other hand, I knew I wanted to make it like a horror film in a way. Not too much. I know some people say sometimes looks like a documentary, the film, but yeah, that's okay. But we were going more for the aesthetic of a horror film especially for the moments when she was in that clinic. No?
Yeah.
In reality, it wasn't like that. The place where they were taking the babies was like the most common building in the world. Like nobody could suspect that was the
normal hospitals as well.
Ah,
The normal hospitals where babies were abducted.
exactly. That was happening a lot.
And was
Normal hospitals where these people were coming to say they wanted to help, and they were actually either stealing or convincing women to give up their babies.
And was it mostly with the poor indigenous communities where they would hunt women like, they're pregnant?
Yes. Well, because they are the poorest.
Yeah.
They are the ones that have less resources, so they use the government crumbled infrastructure, crumbled hospitals without much security. So yes, they were mostly the target. They are till today. You know, again, I want to stress that the
That
trafficking continues, and today is the number one um, illegal business in the world, or one of the most important business in the world, happening everywhere. Yeah, in Peru too, for of course. I haven't heard many cases, although there is some cases like a few years ago for adoptions, you know, like in the movie, but mostly it's for young girls for prostitution. So kidnapping for prostitution.
all right. Wait. Yeah, your film was selected for the Quinzaine de Réalisateurs in Cannes in 2019. How was that experience? Did it open many doors for you?
The Canción, of course, it was wonderful. It was wonderful to be accepted in that. It was the first festival we applied to, and we were lucky. We didn't have to get a rejection letter and continue to wait for our premiere. No, that happens a lot. It's very common. No? For wonderful films, they want to apply for something and then have to wait till finally they premiere. No, so I feel very grateful about that. And of course, it's a brilliant section of the Cannes Film Festival, a parallel section. So where many wonderful directors have premiere and continue to premiere. So yeah, at first it was a little bit of nerve-wracking, but it opened many doors, and of course for the film and for me, no? First for the film and then now for me. Yeah, you when you go there, there's a lot of press, you know, that helps you, that brings attention, and then a lot of invitations for other festivals because programmers go to watch the premieres.
Exactly.
So yeah, so that's very beautiful. That makes your path easier, and then well, yes, it gives you it's giving me, for example, for my next film, many opportunities for co-productions.
Yeah, exactly. And can you say already something about your next project?
Oh, the film San Blas, we are in the beginning stages, but yes, we are working on a story, and the protagonist is going to be a girl, a 12-year-old girl that belongs to a family of artisans in Cusco. And it's about her and her grandmother, who is going blind, and her mother, who is very joyful and nice alcoholic. And the three of them are going to be participating in a contest for making a collection of virgins for the kings of Spain. I mean, it's the city hall that organizes a present for the kings of Spain, for the king and the queen. And in the meantime, this girl is gonna find out. Is gonna learn a lot because yeah, her grandmother is, you know, she can't see very well. And the mother is not very trustworthy.
It's also 12 years old is also an age on which you realize that your parents or your grandparents aren't actually the heroes that you thought they were.
Yes, yes. It's a bit of this too.
Then maybe one last question. Canción sin nombre, and I'm sure you've heard that before, could be compared to the award-winning Roma, who got actually released 1 year before. Firstly, because they're both filmed in black and white, but secondly, also because they both show an unfair power balance between the indigenous and non-indigenous communities in Latin America. My question is, why do you think indigenous cinema is becoming more popular in the last years?
Yeah, maybe we're getting better. Yeah, it's, I guess, a very slow process of decolonization, very, very slow. But it shouldn't be a surprise. It's the continent is in its majority indigenous. So the fact that our movies are protagonists are always white, that's what's very weird. That's what means they're white people are the ones that have money, power, and they show their stories. I think something must be changing, and to make it not even more, let's say, fair, but at least a little bit less ridiculous. Ridiculous, I'll say. It's really ridiculous. When you see the TV here in Latin America, when you see the advertising, nobody has anything to do with the majority of the population. And in cinema, at least it's changing a little bit. So I couldn't be more glad. I hope more stories come like that, and it's more fair, and it helps a little bit. It liberates. It gives us self-esteem. I think it's just the word is upside down, and maybe it's going to be
going in the right direction again.
Yes.
Let's hope so. Well, Melina, then I really, really would like to thank you for our conversation, and of course for Canción sin Nombre. I'm going to tell all my friends they should watch it on Move, because I really enjoyed it. Thank you for that. I wanted to ask you if there's still something you would like to say to the Move public.
Well, thank you so much for waiting an entire year to watch this film. I know that it was supposed to be shown last year, no? So finally we survived, and I'm very glad. And your festival, I'm sure, is gonna be wonderful. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for bringing it to Belgium audiences. I hope, I said in my video, I hope it brings us closer. It's a tough film to watch, but I think necessary somehow.
Thank you for teaching us some more about the Peruvian history and about a situation still going on today.
Thank you, Akasha. A pleasure.